It's a 5.
He wasn't a poker pro, not even close. Just a regular guy with an $8,000 debt, an accounting degree, and a part-time poker habit. But in one wild tournament, he stepped into a room full of legends and walked out a champion. What happened at that table didn't just flip his life upside down. It shook up the whole world of poker. This is the unbelievable story of how an unknown accountant made the world's best players look average. Chris Moneymaker was just your everyday guy, an accountant working for a restaurant chain. He had a pretty typical childhood. He spent his days playing outside with friends, but it didn't take long for the thrill of gambling to creep in. Down in his basement, he and his buddies used to roll dice for money. One time, he won $80 and felt like he'd hit the jackpot of all jackpots. His dad was also into gambling. There was one golden year where they pulled in more than $60,000, living the high life, but as quickly as it came, it disappeared. A nasty losing streak wiped out most of it, leaving behind some hard lessons. Chris, meanwhile, was naturally smart, especially in math and science. But when college hit, so did beer and parties. His grades dropped and things looked shaky. Still, he had charm and hustle. He talked his way into an internship at a top company, eventually locking down a master's degree in accounting from the University of Tennessee. Fast forward to the early 2000s. Just as online poker was starting to blow up, Chris wasn't deep into poker yet, but everything changed after he watched Rounders, that cult classic poker film starring Matt Damon, Edward Norton, and Johnny Chan. The storyline hit home hard. Watching the main character use brains and nerves of steel to clear his debts sparked something in him. He wanted in. At first, it was just a hobby. He played every day but stuck to low-stakes games. He never dreamed it would lead to anything bigger, but with bills piling up, he started grinding harder online to help support his family. He played on PokerStars under the name Money008. His setup? One screen with accounting spreadsheets, the other with poker tables. It was the perfect double life. By 2003, Chris was still an accountant who loved the game, nowhere near a real casino. PokerStars was his playground, and he dove in headfirst. He had a knack for tournaments, especially the multi-table kind, and played them all the time. But what really flipped the script was his thing for satellites. That's where the road to his legendary main event win really begins. Now, for years, everyone thought Moneymaker's Cinderella story started with a $39 satellite on PokerStars. That's what the media ran with, and even Chris believed it, naming his book something along the lines of turning $40 into $2.5 million at the World Series of Poker. But when people started digging into the details, a different picture came out. Turns out, Moneymaker didn't get into that $650 WSOP satellite through a $39 tournament. It was actually an 86 single-table satellite. Chris usually played the 39 two-table ones, so he just assumed that's what it was. But PokerStars double-checked their records and set things straight. It was $86 that kicked off his wild run. After winning that first satellite, he found himself in the 651, and that's where things got interesting. When it got down to the final 4 players, 3 of them would win seats to the World Series of Poker main event. The 4th, they'd walk away with about $8,000. Now here's the twist. Chris actually tried to lose on purpose. That cash was right around what he owed on his credit cards, and the man was thinking about being responsible. Playing the main event sounded like a crazy idea. He had never even faced a professional player before, and wasn't looking to get crushed on poker's biggest stage. But just when he was ready to throw in the towel, one of his friends called him up and changed the whole script. The friend offered to buy half of his action for $5,000. That deal convinced Chris to play it out, and he locked in his seat. But life wasn't done messing with him. That same friend blew all the money at a casino in Tunica. Now Moneymaker's stuck. No cash, no backup, questioning if turning down that guaranteed $8,000 was the dumbest move ever. But then came the save. His dad and a buddy named David Gamble stepped in, each tossing him $2,000, just enough to cover the Vegas trip, hotel, and everything else. And just like that, Moneymaker was back in the game, headed to Las Vegas. You see, the 2003 World Series of Poker came at a time when the game was struggling. Poker rooms were shutting down across the country, and the whole scene felt like it was fading out. It had become more of a movie backdrop than something people were actively playing OHA watching. Chris himself called it a dark period for poker. But that year, something changed, and it changed everything. TV coverage started showing players' hole cards, those first 2 cards that kick off every hand. It gave fans a front-row seat into what each player was holding, turning poker from a confusing guessing game into an intense mental battle. Suddenly, it felt more like a real sport. That small change flipped the switch and helped spark what would become the poker boom. Now, entering the main event at the WSOP is like walking into a lion's den. You've got thousands of players chasing one dream, and while many are amateurs, the sharks, the best of the best, are right there too. Making it through 7 days of high-stakes poker takes more than just skill. It takes a little magic. For Chris, this was his first ever WSOP tournament. First ever. Think about that for a second. A guy who had never played a live poker tournament in his life, stepping onto the biggest stage in the game. But Chris, he just locked in. Fueled by nothing more than Red Bull and water, he started knocking out legends like it was nothing. One by one, the biggest names in poker were sent packing by a guy most pros didn't even take seriously. Some of the hands from that run have become straight-up poker folklore. There was the hand against Chan where Moneymaker hit a flush with an ace, beating Chan's own flush of hearts. That one knocked the legend out. Then came the roller coaster showdown with Phil Ivey. At first it looked like Moneymaker had it, then Ivey pulled ahead. But just when it seemed over, an ace showed up on the river and turned everything around. Ivey was gone. As the days went by, Moneymaker just kept stacking chips. Sure, he caught a few lucky breaks, but he proved he wasn't just some fluke, especially in that showdown with Sam Farha. When those final cards hit the table, Chris probably wasn't jumping up and down or doing some victory dance, but he had every reason to. He was the chip leader. That alone was crazy. He'd clawed his way past 839 players just to get to the final table. Now it was down to heads-up Texas Hold'em, and he was facing off against one of the sharpest minds in the game. But at this point, it wasn't just poker anymore. It felt like a Hollywood movie unfolding in real time. Moneymaker had the chip lead, a wild dream, and the kind of guts you just don't teach. In one of the most talked about hands, Moneymaker raised with King 7 offsuit. Farha defended with Queen 9 offsuit. The flop came 9-6 deuce, giving Farha top pair. Both players checked. Then came the 8 of hearts. Farha bet. Moneymaker raised. He had nothing made, but he had both a straight draw and a flush draw. Farha called. The river was a harmless 3. Farha still had the best hand, and he knew he had the best hand. At one point, he even called out Moneymaker, guessing he'd missed his draw, but something didn't sit right. After thinking it over, he folded. That fold handed Moneymaker a huge pot. ESPN called it the bluff of the century. Then came the final hand. Moneymaker held 5 of spades and 4 of clubs. Farha had a jack of hearts and 10 of diamonds. Not exactly a mismatch, but Farha clearly had the edge. The flop? Jack, 5, 4. Suddenly, Moneymaker had 2 pair, and Farha just had top pair. Farha checked. Moneymaker shoved all in. Farha paused, thought about it, and folded again. That massive fold gave Moneymaker all the momentum he needed. He didn't look back. He went on to win the whole thing. His 5-4 held strong, sealing the victory against Farha's Jack 10. 2 pair on the board took down one of the game's best. Just like that, Chris Moneymaker was the 2003 WSOP main event champion. He walked away with a bracelet, a jaw-dropping $2.5 million, and an instant ticket to poker legend status. At first, he didn't get it. He thought poker would fade out like a trend. But what happened next was something no one saw coming. That average guy winning poker's biggest event inspired thousands. Moneymaker became the face of a new era, and the Moneymaker effect was real. Suddenly, poker wasn't just for casino sharks. It was for anyone with a laptop and a dream. People were like, wait, if this guy can do it from his living room, why can't I? His win flipped the script, proving that even total unknowns could take down the pros. The Las Vegas Sun even credited him with sparking the poker craze. It helped that TV coverage had leveled up. Whole card cams, slick edits, and online poker blowing up made it all feel bigger than life. Before long, everyone thought they had a shot. The media made his story legendary. But once the cameras stopped rolling, Chris found out fame doesn't always come with a winning hand. Just a year after his breakout win, he proved it wasn't a fluke by finishing second at the 2004 Shooting Star WPT event, pocketing another $200,000. From then on, Moneymaker became a regular face in poker circles worldwide. But while his poker life was taking off, his personal life took a hit. His wife at the time couldn't handle the constant travel. Eventually, that tension led to divorce, and a brutal one at that. She didn't just want a clean break, she wanted half of everything, including his future earnings. Chris ended up practically broke. Out of that original prize money, he had already given away half to his dad and a friend who backed him. And after taxes and expenses, his cut was closer to $800,000. When the dust settled, most of it was gone. Still, being broke didn't mean he was finished. Chris had built a name, one people recognized, and he started rebuilding through endorsements, appearances, and grinding the tournament circuit. He leaned into the poker lifestyle hard, partying and traveling nonstop. At one point, he was living the dream, poker by day, parties by night. But as the years rolled on, especially after becoming a father, his mindset shifted. When his daughters and son came along, Chris realized the lifestyle wasn't sustainable anymore. The constant travel, the late nights, and the high-stakes swings lost their shine. He slowed down, quit smoking, cut way back on drinking, and swapped parties for hotel room Netflix nights or Fortnite sessions with his son. Even though his new wife knew what came with marrying a poker pro, it still wasn't easy. He talked openly about the struggles, coming home after losing big, trying to explain the emotional and financial swings, but they made it work. By 2016, people started wondering why he wasn't already in the Poker Hall of Fame. Some felt his win was iconic enough to warrant instant induction. Others weren't so sure, arguing that one big moment doesn't make a full career. But Chris wasn't bothered. He was proud of what he had built and stayed focused on family, his love for the game, and helping it grow. Eventually, in 2019, he got the call and officially became a Hall of Famer. Then came a new venture. Right before the pandemic, he was set to open a poker room in Dallas, but COVID changed those plans. Instead, he launched the Moneymaker Social Club in Paducah, Kentucky, a town just 4 hours from home. The club operated like poker rooms in Texas. No rake, just memberships and seat fees. Things ran smoothly until early 2023, when the local county attorney flipped the script and called it illegal. Facing felony charges, Chris had to pull the poker tables, though the club itself is still open, and he's hopeful that one day poker will return. That same year, he had another massive breakthrough. He cracked the seven-figure mark again by finishing fifth at the $250,000 Luxon Invitational in London, winning $2 million. Then in 2024, he kept that momentum going at the Triton Montenegro GG Million Tournament, walking away with $903,000. It was the third largest score of his career. That Triton win didn't come easy. The field was stacked with world-class pros like Brian Kim, Adrian Mateos, and Isaac Haxton. But Chris held his own, proving he wasn't just a one-time miracle story. In fact, he said the Triton victory was even tougher than the WSOP one because of how skilled the competition was. The $4 million prize pool was massive, and Chris walked away with a big chunk of it. What that tournament really showed was that old-school players like Chris can still throw down with the best of today. His WSOP win sparked a poker boom that brought millions of new players to the game. And even though it's been over 20 years since that iconic moment, Chris has proven time and again that he's still got it. His story remains the ultimate dream for any poker player, and proof that with just one shot, everything can change. It's truly inspiring for millions because he showed them that their dream really can come true.